After selling my Ursa 12K, I swore I was never going to impulse buy another cinema camera. Well, that was at least the plan for the immediate future, but when I saw 16 micro cinema cameras pop up on sale, I just couldn't help myself. Each camera was advertised as a kit for €400, even though they ship with all the original accessories, battery, and a 19mm Sigma Art lens. For a camera of this ilk, I thought, that's expensive. So I jumped on my favorite website to do a quick resale check, and within seconds, MPB France offered me €450 per camera and €50 per lens. So this was a good opportunity to try and quick flip some cameras for cash and wind up with a free camera. But I would have to get the cameras at the right price first. After some negotiation with the seller, I was able to pick up 3 for €280 each. That's $840 in total. That means if MPB paid me $500 per camera and lens combo, I would end up with a free camera and €140 in my pocket. This was the first time I've ever bought a camera online, not in person and without being able to test what I was buying. This is so weird. But if the cameras were in the advertised condition, then it would be absolutely worth the risk. So I ponied up the €840 for the 3 kits and waited. To my surprise, when the package arrived, all 3 kits were in excellent and almost brand new condition, which made it really hard for me to repack the 2 for resale. Pretty much all of the footage that you've been watching in this video is the first footage I shot with the micro system. Granted, it's the same dual gain sensor tech Blackmagic used in the Pocket OG, but the form factor is drastically simplified. I think the footage from this camera is beautiful. Blackmagic really nailed their first sensor choices. So like the OG and the Cinema Camera 2.5K, the OG Micro Cinema Camera, when set to film dynamic range, has a lot of usable latitude and a log profile that produces a very organic looking texture, which is rich in color. After using the micro for a couple of weeks, I can finally understand why people have been raving about this for so long. It's an OG Pocket that just does more. And it kind of makes me wish that Blackmagic Design had released an OG Pocket G2 with these features, because there's 3 undeniable benefits of this camera over the Pocket. That's 50p, 3:1 compressed raw cinema DNG files, and it's all in a smaller form factor. And over a decade later, this is still one of the smallest interchangeable lens cinema camera packages available for commercial work. By no means is this micro cinema camera going to solve any of my larger, more niche camera needs, but it is going to help me take a further step away from the vast sea of quickly iterated cookie cutter hybrids. As most of you know, I create videos with an array of cameras. For the most part, it's Canon 5Ds and the first generation Blackmagic Cinema cameras like the Pocket, the 2.5K and Production 4K. So this will just slide right into the mix and match seamlessly. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters, not the specs. I wish I'd realized this earlier in my career. The amount of time I've wasted comparing cameras and specs or worrying about Netflix approval is undefinable. It's just a waste of time and energy that's better invested in storytelling.
Moving forward.
As I said, it took me a long time to realize this, that I get employed for my ideas and my skills, not my camera. Since then, I've never felt the need or any pressure to buy a modern cinema camera. I rent them, and any camera I enjoy, I set a plan to own in the future when they bottom out in price. Real quick, this is how I've initially kitted out the Micro. The core idea behind this setup is compactness. The camera is small and it needs a monitor, handle and power supply. This cage is the core component you really need if you're going to be using a G1 or 2 Micro. When naked, there's just not a lot of mounting points, which this cage solves in abundance. For now, I'm using this Nitsy handle, which was $20 from Amazon. Like my other Nitsy handles, it's super comfortable and budget friendly. As for audio, I'm just using the internal mics, but when I need better audio for the Micro, these Cinco mics are enough. The lens I'm using is this 12mm by 7 Artisans. For the money, it's amazing. It has a very clean, low distortion look, and I love pairing this with my Freewell V2 magnetic variable ND, which is as clean as they come throughout most of the range. But the 3 most important accessories that you need for one of these older Micros is a monitor, the right type of camera media, and a good battery. With just 2 batteries, I can film for an entire day, and that goes the same for the newer F700 high brightness monitor. The reason I went with this bigger monitor is because it helps me with sharps. Plus, it's easily viewable outdoors, and it doesn't use that much power when you push the screen brightness. I know for some, this setup looks a little ridiculous, tiny camera, giant monitor, but this with a single cable just works for me. When it comes to media, this camera can have some issues, but here's the skinny on how I deal with them. For everything but the 3:1 RAW 50p, I use these V90 cards from Angelbird. They are completely overkill. But when recording the much higher data rate 3:1 RAW 50p cinema DNG files, I use these much slower V60 cards, and this method seems to work on all of the 3 cameras I received. Someone much smarter than me needs to explain why this is the case in the comments below. And that's it really. This is the rig camera, and it's what I've used to create this whole YouTube video. The idea was to keep it minimalist, which is why I opted for this stuff. And so far, it's been working out great. I love the fact this only has 1 cable and the cage protects that single connector really well, which is super important. The Micros are now harder to find in good condition than the Pockets, and the going rate reflects that. I was lucky that the seller had so many that I could actually work a deal and bridge that into a free camera. Packaging the other 2 kits for resale in the end was a really hard decision because I just kept thinking to myself, these are amazing cameras and you'll never find them in this condition again. I really had to fight my camera addiction and let the 2 go. And I'm glad I did, because one of these is enough. I'm loving the slower pace of creating with it because it forces me to slow down and focus on what I'm trying to say and create with a little more intentionality. But that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, a cheeky sub would be great.